Look at that. We're here.
Hey, what's going on?
Well, a lot of things, a lot of crazy things. So let's talk about this for a second.
Okay.
Let's talk about the ability, the constitutional right to photograph in public spaces. Now,
Yeah.
you do have the right to photograph or videotape in on public property, sidewalks, streets, municipal buildings.
It's what my insurance company used against me. Yep.
Now,
anything from public view.
That's correct. Now, what about inside your own home?
No, that's different.
In your own home, not in somebody else's.
Wait a minute. Now, if you're standing in public property, looking into, let's say, my house, for example, my shades are open.
Correct.
I can videotape whatever's going on in there if I want, as long as it's from public view.
Now, what if you're standing inside your own home and decide to take pictures of people at a party in your own home?
In my own home.
Yes.
Like without their, I don't know about that. I think it would depend if it's in like the living room, the kitchen, spaces,
common areas.
Like common areas, exactly. Yes. Then there's no expectation of privacy in those areas. But if you're talking about bathrooms, bedrooms, those types of things, there is an expectation of privacy in those areas. So even if I'm a homeowner, if I decide to do that, then I would imagine I would be in trouble for that.
Now let's take it a step further. You have surveillance cameras, CCTV cameras in your home for your protection.
Mm-hmm.
And you have signs on the windows that say, hey, this, building is surveilled by closed circuit TV or whatever. And someone comes into your house and your security system videotapes them.
I think that would be different. Are they invited or uninvited?
Let's say they invited themselves.
They're uninvited. I didn't say, come on in. They'd help themselves either when I wasn't there or what else. So yeah, that's a whole nother situation though.
Now, if you take those videos and you put them on the internet and say, this happened to me last month, are you liable for anything, or should you be liable for anything?
I would hope that whoever you're talking about submitted that as evidence to the police, and if they weren't getting anywhere with that legally, then yeah, they are the owner of that video. They can do whatever they want. They're in possession of that video. It is their property. It was confiscated on their property with proper warning, I think, outside. If you say surveillance is in use and they break into your home illegally anyway, I think it would raise questions if bedrooms and bathrooms and things are
correct,
otherwise videotaped. But nonetheless, that being said, if I live alone, I can have my bathroom with a video camera in it if I wish. I can do that if I want. But I think, like what you say, you need to make that known. If someone comes into your house, say, hey, I have cameras in my fucking bathroom, just so you know.
I understand that. And now I have to ask, are you ready for the curveball?
Oh, I hate it when you do this, man. Yeah, you hold information back.
No, we had to get that information out first. It was very important because it puts perspective on
at the time. I looked. Go ahead.
What if the people who uninvitedly came into your house were the police?
Did they have a search warrant?
They did, but it was obtained under false pretenses.
Well, then it nullifies that search warrant. So no, they did not have a search warrant. So no, anything obtained in there, if I wanted to broadcast that or do whatever it was I wanted to with that, I would have the right to. I would be well within my right. I'm the owner of that evidence. That is mine.
Okay.
And the cops did something illegal. And if you were afraid for your safety and things like that, I'd consider uploading it. Because what happens if you turn it over to the police and they want to bury this?
Okay.
I don't know. I'd be a little. I don't see. I see where it might be tension, but I can understand why somebody would do that for protection of themselves or for exposure of a corrupt police department.
Not only was it a search warrant obtained with bad information, but there's a possibility that the police officers stole while they were in your house.
I might have. You're reminding you. This is sounding more and more like a story I heard recently, but
it is.
See, that's if you. I would probably be more apt to release that online for my protection.
Now, I know the story you're thinking of. You're thinking of the story where the cops broke into the person's house and they found like $800 in a shoebox in the corner and decided to split it up.
Yeah, well, there's another story, but it has more to do with the gang stuff we were talking about last time.
Okay, this
is not that.
No, this is this is, and I will fill you in on all the details now.
Okay.
There's a rapper, hip hop artist, whatever you want to call him, called Afroman. Did the song "Because I Got High."
Oh right, yeah, I know the tune. Yeah, man.
Okay, last August, police obtained a warrant, a search warrant for his place, with the information that there were drugs, drug paraphernalia, drug trafficking, and kidnapping going on in his house. Kidnapping.
And they had evidence of this.
No, they had information from a source.
They had to provide something to a judge to sign off on the warrant. So
they're questioning the validity of that right now.
Validity of that, yeah.
Now wait, it gets better because they found money in his house.
Whose house?
And in Afroman's house, they actually searched his house.
Right, but is he wealthy enough? Then he's got likes cash or something, or it's drug money for sure.
Oh no, it's definitely his. It's not from illegal money.
So he's got he likes to have cash around. Maybe he wants to give it all away or something like that, or whatever.
But wait, that's not the issue. The issue is when he got the money back after the search became fruitless.
There were stacks missing.
There was hundreds missing, and they did an investigation internally, and decided that the police miscounted the first time.
Oh.
By hundreds of dollars.
They didn't carry the one, huh?
Yeah. So he decided, because they trashed his house, he decided he had surveillance cameras all over his house. In his kitchen.
See that's qualified immunity. That needs to be easier to, cops need to have more responsibility for it. I mean directly, because that comes out of a civilian, that comes out of taxpayer money.
It gets worse.
Like me as an aircraft mechanic, I was responsible for my own actions. I got fines personally for stuff like
that. Now, if you break into someone's house and you get videotaped and they put it up on the internet, there's nothing you can do.
I wouldn't think so. No, I think it'd be stupid to draw attention to it, especially if it was illegal activity.
So now the cops went into his house.
This
time they appropriated money. They destroyed his house. So he decided to take all the surveillance footage, cut it up together, and make a music video out of it.
The entire thing?
He cut it up, took bits and pieces, and made it into a music video. He is now being sued by the police department, by 5 of the officers for defamation and a few other. Yeah.
Did he mention the cops' names?
No, he didn't know their names. He gave them nicknames. He gave one of them. He called them Peter Griffith.
Okay, so how is that defamation?
Showed their faces, so it should put them in a bad light.
Yeah, that's not defamation. Sorry about that. That's exposure, if anything, and they don't like being exposed. Man.
Oh, I absolutely know. Let me give you the details. And what it is basically 4 deputies, 2 sergeants, and a detective from the Adams County Sheriff's Office in Ohio brought a suit earlier this month claiming invasion of privacy. Other law enforcement officers who were involved in the raid are not named as plaintiffs. The plaintiffs say the rapper, whose real name is redacted, took footage of their faces obtained during the August 2022 raid and used it in a music video and social media posts without their consent. They say that has caused them emotional distress, embarrassment, ridicule, and loss of reputation and humiliation.
Yay! That's it.
They are
lucky they're not in prison.
Get this. This is how crazy it's getting. They are seeking all of his profits from his use of their personas. That includes proceeds from the songs, music videos, and live event tickets, as well as the promotion. Right. It hasn't finished yet.
Concluded. They're going to lose their case.
They're seeking that. They're also seeking. Hold on. It gets better. They're also seeking the promotion of Afroman's brand, under which he sells beer, marijuana, t-shirts, and other merchandise. They also seek a court injunction to take down all videos and posts containing their personas.
Wow. Talk about being butthurt.
Yeah.
Butthurt is not a crime. But what they did sounds like it certainly is. And I bet if they really go forward with this, whatever it is they're doing, they're going to wind up providing evidence that police are probably going to pay attention to. And then they're going to get indicted. And they're going to lose
the suit names Afroman. The suit names Afroman, his recording firm, and a Texas-based media distribution company as defendants. Afroman vowed to sue for the undeniable damage that this had on my client's family, career, and property.
What kind of comments did it get? The video itself.
I don't know. I'd have to go look. So
no,
law
I didn't
enforcement
know if
officers
you knew
were
it was
acting.
Part of the story or what.
No. Law enforcement officers were acting on a warrant that stated probable cause existed that drugs and drug paraphernalia would be found on his property and that trafficking and kidnapping had taken place there. Authorities said those suspicions turned out to be unfounded, though, and the raid failed to turn up any probative criminal evidence. No charges were ever filed. When cash seized during the raid was returned to him, it appeared that hundreds of dollars were missing. A subsequent review by the State Bureau of Criminal Investigations determined that the deputies had miscounted the amount seized during the raid itself. Afroman is best known for the songs Before I Get High and Crazy Rap, which were both featured on his album The Good Times. He's also known for his political activism and announced last December that he plans to run for president.
Interesting.
So now they did all this to him. They went into his house, trashed it with bad information, and now they're suing him for hurting their reputation. Not only that, they want everything. They want all proceeds from all his businesses, all his concerts, all his CDs, everything he's ever done. All because they got played by somebody who gave him bad information.
Which is not, it happens quite a bit, actually, more than it should. They
should.
Sometimes this ought to be for another show, but I think sometimes they maybe forget their role in society.
Should they have legal grounds to sue him, seeing how it was on his property and they went in there voluntarily?
No, I think the police have legal grounds to start an investigation through IA at minimum to the police that were on the videos themselves. That's what I think the obligation lies, that once this is out, now it's out in the public and the police have their eyes have been drawn to it. That's the next story that should come out is 5 police officers from whatever police department are under investigation for. Their civil case should be thrown out that they have. And they should be probably eventually indicted and so on and so forth.
See, now the weird thing to me is this didn't happen in New York City. It didn't happen in LA or Hollywood. It happened in Ohio.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. I hate to say it, but maybe the color of the state matters. There's so much corruption now in red states because that's what they vote for. They want all these things, the deregulations, the hiding of this and that. They want judges to be corrupt and let people off. The yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, but this is what happens when. Same with the train derailment. I know that's a separate thing, but that's all part of it too. They wouldn't be up in arms so much if it happened in a blue state. Oh, there you go, you tree huggers, whatever. Yeah.
Right. So
Anyway, back to this.
So he's doing the right thing by countersuing, but he shouldn't have to because they never should have brought a suit in the beginning. Can a judge just throw out the suit?
They're doing it because they're scared. Think of it. If they just ignore it, something's going to happen. But they're trying to put this out and make it seem something else. They're trying to cover it up because that's what they do. They have so much egg in their face. They try to put out whatever fires they can. And the sad part is now they're getting so blatantly obvious at it. They need to pick battles they can sweep. This isn't one of them. It's too late. The cat's out of the bag. Fry the guys. Go for it. Now you got to make an example out of them. Oh, well, you shouldn't have gotten caught. But they're not. They're gonna fight it. And they're going to lose ultimately because this guy, if whatever happens, he should be able to appeal it, or he should be able to, who knows, maybe there's federal involvement somehow when it's a police department. Maybe they need to get the federal government involved, the DOJ. Maybe that's what they need to do. That should be an option for them, I would imagine.
I just find it kind of shady that the CBI said, oh, yeah, they miscounted hundreds of dollars.
Yeah. Well, look where you're at, too. They're probably just as corrupt, paid off, or just as bad and in trouble if something ever goes down. This sheriff's got something on me, I got something on him. That's how they keep the ball rolling. That's how corruption keeps going. You get dirt on your buddy, so on and so forth. That's why those gangs in LA or wherever it was, I forget what we were talking about this the other day. But anyway,
in California,
you want to make sure that the people you have bringing in are just as dirty and culpable as you are. So if something happens, well, they're not going to rat you out because, well, you can rat them out too, and yada yada.
Well, this all goes to how we're going backwards. We had this discussion once before. It seems like policing and governing are taking steps backwards to the 60s, the 50s, the 40s, where we could discriminate against whoever we wanted. The cops could do whatever they wanted.
Or maybe more accurately is we just decided to see what we wanted to see, and it was happening all along and just getting worse, and we just chose not to look at it. That's a possibility too.
That is a possibility, but the reason I say we're going backwards is I'm sure you heard what happened in Idaho. They just passed a law that says the death penalty can now include firing squads.
Oh, yeah.
Firing squads. We haven't done that in decades, if not a century.
I don't know. I almost don't. I'm on the fence how I feel about the death penalty. The problem is somebody else has to take that life. Somebody has to do it, or a group of somebodies are involved or something. But regardless how it happens, someone has to take a life again. I don't know that you're shifting that guilt from one to the other. It seems that person that flipped the switch or pulled the trigger, whether they have the bullet or not, that still doesn't get rid of the guilt that eventually is going to catch up to them for doing that. They're never going to forget that moment for as long as they live, whether they can deal with it or not. One way or another, it's going to happen. I don't know. I still think prisons ought to be more prosperous than they are now. They could be made still more sustainable in a better way than they are now. Maybe give these friggin' lifers a little bit of purpose somehow. But still, I don't know. I'm skeptical. I wouldn't want to be the one that has to be responsible for pulling the trigger or the injection or the switch or whatever.
Now qualified immunity, does that cover? I mean, are they covered by that if they initiate a lawsuit against you in the first place? Like, can you countersue them, or is that listed under qualified
Well,
immunity?
it sounds to me like they're not going up against as police officers; they're going up against as citizens. Because they're saying me, me, me. They're not saying police officer so on from police department so on. They're going up as whatever their names are as plaintiffs, right?
Correct.
And so
I think
yeah,
it's
I
4
think this is
officers, 2.
that's why it's probably a civil matter, because I think if they were going as police, well, that's a civilian entity. I don't think the police department could sue you that way. I think that they would just arrest you if it was criminal or otherwise seek damages through another legal means just by issuing you a bill. I don't whatever. It would be a different route than that.
It's 4 deputies, 2 sergeants, and a detective with the county sheriff's office.
I missed the beginning of that. What'd you say?
4 deputies, 2 sergeants, and a detective with the county sheriff's office.
All right, so those are really. I'm just surprised that they're using their police officer status as the plaintiffs in this case. That I don't know. That almost doesn't make sense. I would think that they would have to be in a civilian capacity to be able to pursue civil anything. They seem to be using the umbrella of the police department, and to me that's a conflict because it's a civilian entity going after a civilian entity. It doesn't no.
If they go as police under the guise of under the umbrella of the police,
That's
then
what I
does
mean.
he have
Yeah.
the right to sue them, or are they, are they covered under
Their
qualified
case should be
immunity?
thrown out once it goes to court. I don't think they have there's no legal standing in the capacity of law enforcement of individuals in law enforcement, because you're not talking about the PD. You're talking about individuals
Mhm.
within the PD.
Yeah,
I
as a
would
matter of
think
fact,
they
it
would
says
function
other
that way.
officers that were involved in the raid are not part of the plaintiffs.
Right. So
So
we're talking individuals. I think what they might be using their names, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's 5 civilians going after a civilian as a class action type thing. That's probably more accurate. Maybe they're using their names to carry some weight to what they're trying
I
to
was going to
do.
say, because if they're doing it as civilians,
Mhm.
then that negates any search warrant because they were acting under the guise of police when they went in, and now they're suing as private
Well,
citizens, so they had no right to be there as private
right.
citizens.
But either way you look at it, if they went in as private citizens or they went in with the umbrella of a police department, both actions are illegal. Both actions are felonies, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, that's why the case that goes in should fall apart because it's the police department involvement in it. That should make that fall apart. If they're going in as what I would make more sense as civilians, as a person to a person, then that case should fall apart because it's illegal what they did in the first place. And maybe I don't know if they can do it, but maybe it can be recommended to the Department of Justice or whatever version of the state level to pursue potential indictments, or IA or whatever.
Right. Well, I'd like to see. I want to see how this plays out because this was
I'm,
last year that the raid
I'm
happened.
surprised the civil rights lawyer or whatever hasn't, one of those guys, auditors, one of those auditor programs hasn't gotten a hold of it to get into it.
Well, I'm hoping they do. I'm hoping. I want to see how this whole plays out because, like I said, the raid was last year, and just now they're bringing the lawsuit against them because they caught wind of the video, the music video.
I wonder if the author of the video tried to do something and was just shut down. Because you're right, if they're saying that maybe they miscounted or whatever, as their explanation and said, "Yeah, thanks. Here's a lollipop. Have a nice day." That's probably why he produced the video the way he did, because he wasn't getting any traction. So I don't blame him for that. And yeah, I do believe it's his property, and he has the right. He has the right because he's the owner of that property. He has the right to do whatever he
Now,
wants with it. He doesn't need to
Apparently,
copyright it or anything.
apparently there have been calls for a FOIA request for the body cams, and so far there's been no response from the.
Well, they have, excuse me, they have a certain amount of time before they don't have a choice now. With some of the new legislation that's been passed. Yeah, so they can probably fight that for 30, 60 days, 45 days, something like that. But they're eventually, if body cam does exist, which it should, if this was a a police raid or whatever, they should definitely have body cam footage or documentation of the event or something, you know.
Right. Yeah, I don't. Well, he named the song "Lemon Cake," and that's because one of the officers who were searching his kitchen, first place they went, they made a beeline for the fridge.
Wow.
And it was a heavy set Peter Griffith type dude.
Yeah, right.
And the first thing he did was look in the fridge. So
that's pretty funny.
Yeah. So I think we should keep an eye on this and see where it goes.
I'm curious.
And get back to it because I think this is ridiculous.
Oh, totally ridiculous. It sounds like they stepped all over his rights. Yeah.
And he did have surveillance footage or surveillance cameras on his property, and they had to know that.
He probably had good ones too, because I bet he's got a little bit of change. I bet he can afford it.
They were pretty clear. Yeah. And then some of them were in nice color too.
Right, and they're not ones that they could just rip down, you know.
No. So I don't know if because they knew that they were there, they even have a case.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I wonder how much did he use all the video and put it out there? Or did he hold some back?
I would have to say he held some back because it was probably like an hour that they were at his house or more, and he only used enough for a video. Music
just video. A few minutes then. So yeah, he probably uploaded enough to let them know that, hey, I got something here, man. So maybe they need to be really careful, and they shouldn't have drawn attention to it. They should have just left it alone.
That's what I was thinking.
Back his few $100. Hey man, what was it? $500, $1,000, whatever. What, $5,000? So I don't know.
I think it was. I don't know. I read somewhere it might have been $800.
Come on, man. They shouldn't. Yeah. Come on. That's messed up.
Yeah. So, I hope he takes them for everything they're worth. But the problem is, if he wins his case, that comes from us, not them. Unless.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. A countersuit? Yeah, it's taxpayer funds.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. Again, it depends. If they're going in, like I said, as civilians, then no. If he countersues to be against the 5 of them, they would probably have some form of insurance, I would imagine. That's probably from the union. So there might be some there. But, if he's planning on getting, more than 6 figures, then I don't think he's going to get that. $500,000 maybe, a couple $100,000 each. Sure, why not? $250 a piece. Possibilities of that. I bet you they got houses they can put second mortgages on.
Right.
Something like that. If they're corrupt like that, they can do it. They got a boat they can sell. you know.
Right. But like I said, if they're going as the police, then we're paying for it. But if they're going as themselves, they got to start like selling their firstborn kids and stuff to pay off this.
If they're going through something taxpayer funded and I would imagine right now that there is an internal investigation going on about this right now. Because now it's taxpayer funded. It's all you're wasting taxpayer money on something that's probably criminal.
I mean, did they actually think that if the CBI says, well, they miscounted, then the guy's just going to forget about it and let it go, just let it disappear.
$800 out of how much? How much we talking? Was that
So,
half? Or was that,
oh,
out of like 80 grand or, something like that?
Even if it was out of 80 grand or $8,
that's what I'm talking about. The minds of the cops. They figured, he's got this more cash. He'll never see it. Of course he counted it. He counted every fucking nickel they gave him back.
How hard would it have been? How hard would it have been to say, oh, we accidentally put it under other evidence and we found it. Here you go.
They did not expect him to count the money. And he did. That's a lot of money. I mean, you're talking tens of thousands. People might just take it. But no, he's like, man, fuck the police. I bet you they took some of this. I bet you. He made a bet with a buddy. They probably rolled up a doobie and put it through their counting machine. I'm sure he's got one. And yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
I bet you it's something like that. He figured, I bet these guys took some money. I bet. Because they gave him back bundles. So all he had to do was open up a bundle. It should be the same amount in every bundle.
Right. You're right. It should.
Yeah.
And the fact that they found no evidence of any criminality whatsoever.
The only other thing is if some of his friends or whatever found where the money was or whatever and managed to sneak, 100 off a stack here and there. That's the only other option that could potentially be. I don't know how the money was stored. I don't know if it was.
But that doesn't make sense that the police said there was X amount and then they came back and said, oh, no, we're sorry, there's Y amount because we miscounted by hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. Because then you'd have, you're right. That's a good point. Valid point on that. Yeah. They shouldn't have. They should have just shut the fuck up. They should have done that. Because it seems like the more they talk, they act like criminals. Everything they say that criminals do, guess what? The police do when they trying to cover some shit up. They act like criminals, and they make mistakes, bad ones.
All right, brother. Well, that brings us to another concluded episode of this wonderful show, and we will definitely update this in the future. As soon as we get updates, you guys get them. So, as we said before, we're giving away a $50 Amazon gift card as soon as we hit 50 subscribers. So, tell your friends, your enemies, your family, anybody to check this out. I don't care if they agree with us or don't agree with us.
Leave the comments. That's what they're for.
Yeah. Yeah, and with that, I will say good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
Peace. Don't drink and drive.